Gaza's Hamas-backed health ministry says dozens more Palestinians have been killed as the Israeli military attempts to occupy Gaza City. Israel's defense minister has threatened to open the gates of hell if Hamas refuses its ceasefire demands. The dangers for Palestinians are rising by the day, finding themselves caught between the crossfire and the spread of famine.
The famine declaration in Gaza by a UN-backed global hunger monitor was met with little surprise in Gaza City. Displaced Palestinians say they have been facing starvation for months.
There is no food or water. We're unable to walk because of the lack of food. Why are they doing this to us? Aren't we human beings like them?
We've been living in a famine for 2 years. What can the organisations announce? We're starving. We eat once a day. Could we be hungrier than we are now? There's nothing left. We're living in a famine.
The report by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, says more than 500,000 people in the Gaza Strip are facing catastrophic hunger conditions. And more than 1 million are experiencing a food emergency. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected the report, calling it an outright lie. He said in a statement, Israel does not have a policy of starvation. Israel has a policy of preventing starvation. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes continue. Its military say these are the first steps of an operation to take over Gaza City and other Hamas strongholds. As a result, hundreds of thousands of Gazans are forced to flee once again.
All these acts are to terrify us and force us to leave our country. Every day they want us to move from one area to another, to central Gaza or another area.
The situation is tragic. It's not even like the famine in Somalia. It's not like any tragedy in another country. What's happening in Gaza is different.
And as Gazans struggle to access aid, the IPC now projects that the hunger crisis in Gaza will worsen unless fighting stops and more aid is allowed into the Gaza Strip.
Let's bring in Fawaz Gerges. He's holder of the Emirates Professorship in Contemporary Middle East Studies. Welcome back to DW. Israel is under so much pressure, especially now with famine declared in parts of Gaza. Public polls suggest the majority of Israelis do not support the Gaza City offensive. Why do you think then Netanyahu is so determined to push ahead with this war and go as far as to deny any signs of hunger in Gaza?
Well, thanks for having me. I think there is relative consensus inside Israel and outside Israel that permanent war serves Benjamin Netanyahu's strategic aim. And his strategic aim is to postpone the inevitable domestic reckoning for the strategic mistakes on the 7th of October when Hamas attacks Israel. Permanent war means he keeps his coalition intact. The end of the war means basically the end of Benjamin Netanyahu's political career. Also, we need to remind your audience that also the end of the war could mean that Benjamin Netanyahu's domestic difficulties, in particular his trial inside Israel, he was indicted in 2019 on theft and bribery and other crimes. So all in all, I think what Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to do is to prevent the collapse of his coalition and to remain in power, and also to go down in history as the Israeli leader who sabotaged and undermined and destroyed the prospects of a Palestinian state. I think this is also a strategic goal of Benjamin Netanyahu and his extremist coalition members.
But isn't he just kicking the can down the road? I mean, he can't keep this war going on forever.
Excuse me?
He can't keep this war going on forever. Isn't he just pushing his problems further down the path, and a path, as you put out rightly, to ending up in court, not just over bribery, but perhaps over other things like war crimes?
Well, I think you're asking a rational question. The entire world is asking the same question. It's been 2 years. Benjamin Netanyahu has declared decisive victory, an absolute victory more than once. He has made it very clear that he has defeated Hamas more than once. Yet, what do we have after 2 years? We have famine in Gaza City and neighboring environments. We have more than 62,000 Palestinians who have been killed, almost 19,000 children who have been killed. I think Benjamin Netanyahu has succeeded. He has succeeded in making life unbearable in Gaza, in making Gaza unlivable. And now we have starvation, and this starvation is a man's made, as the United Nations and other humanitarian officials. And yet Benjamin Netanyahu keeps saying everyone is lying. The United Nations, human rights organizations, the television, the numbers, everyone is lying except Benjamin Netanyahu. We need to take Benjamin Netanyahu's word for granted. He is basically the person who tells the truth all the time. In the words of a former top Israeli general, he said, quote unquote, when Benjamin Netanyahu breathes, he breathes falsehood. And all we know about Benjamin Netanyahu, and I don't exaggerate, he is a serial manipulator. He is a serial liar. I'm sorry to say it publicly on air.
The only problem with that is that he also has the backing, or seems to have the backing, of the most powerful man in the world. I'm talking about US President Donald Trump, of course.
I think this is it. I think you put your finger on the pulse of the most important factor that enables Benjamin Netanyahu continue his war. Think, a huge majority in Israel, 70% of Israelis would like the war to end. The entire world, Germany, Britain, France, the entire world wants the war to end, wants humanitarian aid to reach Gaza, starvation to end. 500,000 Israelis last Sunday protested this particular futile war, dangerous war. Yet, on the morning after the protest, the largest protest in Israel's history, Donald Trump tweeted, quote unquote, the only way to release the hostages is to confront Hamas and destroy it. The sooner, the better, giving Benjamin Netanyahu a green light. And as long as Benjamin Netanyahu has Donald Trump's a green light, he will continue the war, because Donald Trump is the only person in the world who could end the war today, not tomorrow.
Fawaz, let's just look at the other side of the story. What about Hamas? It's recently stated that it will not disarm until a Palestinian state is established. What do you make of that?
Well, look, we know that Hamas has suffered a great deal. We're talking about thousands of seasoned fighters. Hamas is pressed between Iraq, the Israeli military onslaught, and a catastrophic humanitarian situation. Hamas is desperate to have a ceasefire. But at the end of the day, Hamas' strategic goal is survival. It won't lay down its arms. Because look, a few days ago, Benjamin Netanyahu was asked on Australian television, quote unquote, public information, okay, even if the Israeli hostages were released, would you continue your war in Gaza? He said yes. That means not only has Hamas to lay down its arms, that Benjamin Netanyahu wants a free hand, wants to control Gaza militarily, like he does the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. So from Hamas' point of view, the only way, even if it releases the hostages, Netanyahu will not end his war. But at the end of the day, more and more Palestinians are blaming Hamas for the humanitarian catastrophe that Israel has visited on Gaza in the past 2 years.
But Fawaz, how desperate would you say Hamas really is? You describe them as being desperate for a ceasefire. It can't even feed its own people. Its people are starving. They're not just facing famine, people are going through famine right now, according to the pictures and the footage that we've been getting.
I have no doubts in my mind that Hamas wants a ceasefire now, not 1 hour later, because Hamas realizes that what Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to do is to destroy life in Gaza. And he has succeeded to a large extent. Hamas knows very well that Donald Trump, there is no daylight between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. But at the end of the day, Hamas is facing an existential decision about its own survival. I doubt it very much whether Hamas will lay down its arm and basically exits Gaza, because this would be the ultimate defeat, the ultimate humiliation. So at the end of the day, without giving Hamas not only a face-saving formula, but a kind of an initiative, a kind of a vision, a way out of this particular existential difficulty, I think Hamas will fight a guerrilla warfare, as it has been doing so in the past 1 year, because Hamas no longer exists as an organized structural movement now. It really has morphed into a guerrilla force.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Great talking to you, Fawaz Gerges from the London School of Economics and Political Science.